good evening to everyone. So thank you for that gracious introduction. So ngayong hapon po, ating pag-uusapan, like allow me to speak both in English and Filipino for the benefit of our audience since this is being streamed live. So we have also undergraduate students attending or watching our forum this afternoon. So I'll be speaking both in English and Filipino. So you can see the slide in our, as it is being streamed live. Now, the question we need to ask today is really the foremost in the minds of many. Is the arrest of former President Duterte legal? Now, I'm here to present the international law perspectives concerning the arrest of the former president. Now, that is the primary question. Can we move to the slide, please? Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so this is the question. Now you can see in your screen the question we seek to answer for today. Can we confirm that the slides are being seen online? Okay, so that I can continue. So the foremost question, as I've mentioned earlier, that we want to answer today is the arrest of the former president legal? Yun naman po ang gusto nating sagutin. Now, in order to do that, let's begin with some preliminary consideration. Next slide, please. Now, for those who are non-law students or non-lawyers watching our session or webinar this afternoon, I think it's important for you to understand that the Philippine Constitution provides that that international law is part of the law of the land. Okay? Article 2, Section 2 of the Philippine Constitution clearly provides that international law is part of the Philippine laws. Now, why is this important? Because the question that we are going to answer this afternoon cannot be answered by just looking at one type of law, meaning domestic law or our Constitution. I would like to submit that in order to answer this question, we need to do an harmonization. Kailangan po nating pagsamasamahin at tingnan. You have the domestic law, of course, you have the Constitution as part of that, and of course, international law. All these three should be brought together, harmonized, in order for us to be able to answer the question that we are faced. Now, next slide, please. So, the first thing I want us to answer this afternoon is, what is the ICC? You've been hearing about it. Everybody has been talking about the ICC. Pero ano ba ang ICC? Next slide. Okay. So the ICC, the International Criminal Court, is based in The Hague. You've been hearing about The Hague. So what does it do? It investigates and, where warranted, tries individuals charged with the gravest crimes of concern to the international community. Specifically, genocide, war crimes, crimes against humanity, and the crime of aggression. So in Filipino, ito po ay isang korte, international na korte, na dumidinig ng mga kasong genocide, war crimes, crimes against humanity, and the crime of aggression. Now, we proceed to the next question. Does the ICC have jurisdiction to investigate and prosecute since we are no longer a state party? Why did I pose this question? Because this is what many have been saying. Bakit pa ba tumitingin ang ICC sa Pilipinas hindi na naman tayo bahagi nitong korte na to or ng kasunduan na to? Now, next slide please. So, does the ICC have the jurisdiction to investigate and prosecute at least the crimes being leveled against the former president? The answer is yes. Bakit po? Article 127, kung titingnan po natin yung Article 127 ng ICC statute o yung kasunduan relating to the ICC, it provides that despite withdrawal from the ICC, it retains jurisdiction over incidents that happened during the time the state was a member. So you can see from the slide there is a copy of the Article 127 of the ICC for you to see yourself. Nakalagay po talaga yan. And for the Philippines, it is between, ano po ba yung period na miyembro tayo ng ICC? It is between November 1, 2011 up to March 16, 2019. So simply put, for the period that we were member, November 1, 2011 up to March 16, 2019, ICC has the right to look into incidents within that particular period, but only for that particular period, just to be clear. Even if we withdraw from the statute. Now, bakit po ba yaan yung period na yan? Bakit from November 1, 2011 up to March 16, 2019? The reason for that is because we deposited or submitted our notice for withdrawal in 2018. And according to this provision, it takes effect a year after. So that is March 16, 2019. So ngayon po, tama po kayo, hindi na po tayo bahagi ng kasunduan na ito. We are no longer part of the ICC. Now, next slide, please. It is also important to understand that even the High Court, the Supreme Court, has affirmed that indeed the ICC has the right to look into incidents that happened within the period na miyembro po ang Pilipinas. So, in the case of Pangilinan versus Cayetano, the Supreme Court affirmed the validity of Article 127 of the ICC statute. So, meron pong karapatan talagang tingnan ang tingnan ng ICC yung mga pangyayari sa period na yon. Ano po bang nangyari dyan sa Pangilinan versus Cayetano? This is a 2021 case. Now, just a short overview for the non-law students and for the general public to understand. In this particular case, yung mga petitioners o yung nagsampa po ng reklamo were asking the court kung pwede bang unilateral ang pag-alis ng ICC ng Pilipinas sa ICC. Ano po bang ibig sabihin ng unilateral? Meaning, it was the president who decided to opt out of the ICC. Bakit po ito katanungan? Because according to the Philippine Constitution, pag ang Pilipinas po ay papasok sa isang kasunduan, kailangan po ito ng concurrence ng Senado. And in this case, nag-opt out po ang Pilipinas from the ICC statute with the decision of the President, unilateral decision ng Presidente. So, tinatanong nila, pwede po bang mangyari na mag-opt out tayo nang walang concurrence din ng Senado? Sadly, the Constitution is silent as to what is the procedure for opting out. So, yun po yung katanungan sa kasong yun. But, this case came out in 2021, so, tapos na po. Like, by the time na lumabas yung kaso, hindi na po tayo bahagi ng ICC dahil 2019 hanggang 2019 po lamang tayo bahagi nito. March 16, 2019. Okay? Next slide. So, was the Philippines given the opportunity to prosecute the case against the former president? I want to discuss this because katanungan ng mga tao, bakit hindi ba sa Pilipinas kasuhan na lang ang dating presidente? Bakit ba kailangan makarating pa tayo sa Hague or sa ICC? But unknown to many, the question is, were we given the opportunity to actually prosecute the former president here in the Philippines? Next slide. And the answer to this question is yes. The Philippines was actually given the opportunity to investigate and prosecute the former president. I want people to understand, kailangan po nating maunawaan na ang ICC statute nakasaad po yung tinatawag nating complementarity principle. Ano po ba ang sinasabi sa complementarity principle? Under Article 17 of the ICC statute, malinaw na malinaw po ang may pangunahing karapatan to prosecute and investigate violations is the country itself. Yung bansa po ang may pangunahing karapatan. And now, papasok lang po ang ICC pag ang bansa is unwilling or unable to investigate or prosecute. So, ano po bang ibig sabihin nito? Next slide, please. So, here is a reproduction or the exact provisions of Article 17 of the ICC statute. Nakita nyo, papasok lang po ang ICC if the country is unwilling or unable to prosecute. So, ano po ba yung unable to? Meaning, meron na pong complete breakdown ng sistema, the judiciary is no longer functioning, and that is a situation na hindi naman po yan ang sitwasyon ng Pilipinas. Diba? Our judiciary is functioning. Now, we now go to the other criteria, unwillingness. Dito po papasok. If we look at the letters A, paragraphs A, B, and C of the statute of this particular article, makikita nyo, A, that the proceedings were or being undertaken or the national decision was made for the purpose of shielding the person concerned from criminal responsibility for the crimes. B, there is unjustified delay in the proceedings. C, the proceedings were not or not being conducted independently or impartially. So dito po pumasok yung senaryo po ng Pilipinas. I'll explain. Next slide, please. So kung titingnan po natin, here is the timeline para po maunawaan ng lahat. In fact, the Philippines was actually given the opportunity to investigate and prosecute the violations being leveled against the former president. If we look at the timeline, November 2021, the Philippines submitted a deferral request to the ICC. Ano po ba ang deferral request? Because at this time, the ICC was already investigating the situation in the Philippines. And now, dahil following the complementarity principle, sumulat po ang Pilipinas. ICC, kami na ang mag-iimbestiga. The Philippines will investigate and prosecute the incidents. So, ipagpaliban nyo ang inyong investigasyon. So, on the exact day of the deferral request, the ICC temporarily suspended its investigation. So, ano pong nangyari? Nung bahagi po kasi ng pag-submit ng deferral request, the country is now required to submit documents before the ICC showing na indeed you are investigating and prosecuting these offenses. Now, what happened next is in June 2022, the ICC prosecutor requested for the authorization to resume the investigation. Bakit? Because when they assessed the documents that were submitted by the Philippines, nakita po nila that, in their words, the investigation carried out by the government does not mirror the investigation to be conducted by the prosecution. Now, what does it mean? If you look at the deferral request of the ICC prosecutor to reopen or resume investigation, sinabi po nila that among others, incidents before June 2016 were not investigated by the Philippines. So this was prior to the former president becoming president of the country. So at the time, he was then mayor. And then what else? They noticed that allegations of torture as well as allegations of illegal imprisonment were not looked into as well. And because of this, they requested for the authorization to resume the investigation. And thereafter, on January 26, 2023, the pre-trial chamber of the ICC granted the prosecutor's request to resume investigation. And this what led to the issuance of the arrest warrant in 2025. So, I want to emphasize here that the Philippines was indeed given the opportunity to prosecute. It's just that we failed to take advantage of that opportunity, and that is the reason the ICC stepped in. And another thing I'd like to point out, you would notice, if you look at the slide, November 2021, we submitted a deferral request. This is important to note. Why? If you submit a deferral request, the government is already acknowledging the validity of the jurisdiction of the ICC to look into the incidents within the period of November 1, 2011 up to March 16, 2019. Kasi, bakit ka magsasubmit ng deferral request kung ang claim mo walang jurisdiction ng ICC na tingnan yung mga insidenteng to. So by submitting a deferral request, you are in fact acknowledging the validity of Article 127 of the ICC statute. Now we go to the next question. Now, can the Philippines surrender the former president to the ICC? Answer. Okay. Next slide, please. So, if we look at Section 17 of Republic Act 9851, let's read. In the interest of justice, the relevant Philippine authorities may dispense with the investigation or prosecution of a crime punishable under this act if another court or international tribunal is already conducting the investigation or undertaking the prosecution of such crime. Instead, the authorities may surrender or extradite suspected or accused persons in the Philippines to the appropriate international court. So, malinaw po dito na pag meron na pong international court na tumitingin, nag-i-investigate or nagpo-prosecute, ang Pilipinas po ay may option na isurrender na po yung tao, yung akusado doon sa court na dumidinig nung kaso. Very clear po. Now, the question that people are asking, why not extradite? Bakit surrender? Bakit hindi na lang natin i-extradite? Now, we go back to international law for this. When we talk about extradition in general, extradition is an agreement between governments. Okay? Next slide, please. So, Presidential Decree 1069 clearly provides for the guidelines as to when extradition will be applicable. Tingnan po natin, yung Section 4 ng PD 1069, nakalagay yung request, ano ang requirements. If we look at paragraph 1, any foreign state or government. So in this case, is it the Dutch government requesting for the presence of the president, the former president, sa Hague? No. It is the ICC, which is not a state. Therefore, the option that is most viable in this instance is surrender, not extradition. This is clear both domestically and under international law. So, we go to the next question. So, is Article 59 of the ICC statute applicable? Ito yung pinaka-controversial na question po na people have been asking over and over again. Is Article 59 of the ICC statute applicable? For those who are not familiar, Article 59 of the ICC statute provides that the person, in short po, when a warrant is issued, the person should be, the local court should be brought before a local court and validate the warrant of arrest. Parang in short po, ganun lang. But we can show the provisions later. Now, bakit applicable po ba ang Article 59? Yun ang tanong ng mga tao bakit hindi ito ginawa? Kung nakalagay sa ICC statute na kailangan palang i-validate, dalhin sa local court yung akusado para ma-validate yung arrest warrant, bakit hindi ito ginawa ng gobyerno? So, next slide please. Okay. Now, remember, we've settled early on that the Philippines opted out of the ICC effective March 17, 2019. So, as of March 17, 2019, hindi na po tayo bahagi ng ICC, ng kasunduan na tinatawag na ICC. And because of this, I submit that Article 59 of the ICC is no longer applicable and cannot be invoked in the arrest of President Duterte. Allow me to explain kung bakit po. This is now when we go to international law for guidance. So, if we look, the first thing we need to look at is the Vienna Convention on the Law of Treaties. For non-law students and non-lawyers, the Vienna Convention of the Law of Treaties is a agreement that more or less provides guidance how we should interpret international agreements. Meaning, if states enter into agreements at merong questions doon, VCLT or the Vienna Convention of the Law of Treaties provides for guidance how we should interpret the same. And Article 34 of the VCLT is instructive. It provides, a treaty does not create either obligations or rights for a third state without its consent. This is actually the doctrine called Pacta Tertiis nec nocent nec prosunt. Anong ibig sabihin po ng Pacta Tertiis nec nocent nec prosunt? Meaning, kung hindi ka kabahagi ng isang kasunduan, you cannot claim benefits or complain violations therein. So, dahil hindi na po bahagi ang Pilipinas ng ICC statute, hindi na po tayo pwedeng mag-claim ng applicability ng Article 59 dito sa sitwasyon pong ito. Next slide. This is a snippet of Article 59. Now, Article 59 of the ICC statute, I want to emphasize this, talks about the duty of a state party to the ICC. It does not talk about the rights of the accused. Bakit po? Because the rights of the accused is actually provided for in another provision under the ICC statute, which is Article 67. So yung 59 po, it's the duty of a state party. Tingnan po natin. If you look at the snippet, it says a state party which has received a request. And in this case, the Philippines is no longer a state party when the warrant was issued. And thus, I submit Article 59 no longer applies in this case following international law concept of Pacta Tertiis nec nocent nec prosunt following Article 34 of the Vienna Convention on the Law of Treaties. Now, next slide please. So very quickly lang po, what is the Interpol? Does the Philippines need to cooperate with the Interpol? Next slide. So the Interpol stands for the International Criminal Police Organization. It is an intergovernmental organization. The Philippines has been a member of the Interpol since 1952. It is an organization that more or less endeavors to combat crimes, global crimes that cuts across borders, such as human trafficking and terrorism. Next slide, please. So, ano po yung koneksyon ng Interpol at ng ICC? Next slide. There is in fact a cooperation agreement between the Interpol and the ICC signed in 2004. Now, the ICC Office of the Prosecutor and the Interpol agreed to exchange police information and criminal analysis and to cooperate in the search of fugitives and suspects. Next slide. And this is the reason, oh, by the way, go back muna. And this is the reason that the Interpol approached the ICC approached the Interpol and requested the Interpol to assist it in looking for a particular person subject of the arrest warrant issued by the ICC. Now, we go to the last question because I'm only given 20 minutes to speak and we'll leave more room for questions. So, did we give up our sovereignty by surrendering the former president? Ito pong katanungan ng marami. Next slide. Yan. The answer is a resounding no. Bakit po? Remember, a state, in order to be considered a state under the Montevideo Conventions, this is, again, we go to international law. There are 4 elements for statehood. You have the government, the people, the territory, and the 4th one is capacity to enter into relations with other states. In fact, entering into agreements such as the Rome Statute is in fact an exercise of sovereignty. So, the fact na pumasok tayo sa kasunduan na yun, hindi siya pag-give up ng sovereignty. And, dahil tayo ay pumasok, we need to abide it in good faith. O yung tinatawag nating doctrine ng Pacta Sunt Servanda in international law. So, pinasok natin siya dahil tayo isang sovereign, So, paano nangyari na pag tayo ay sumunod ayon sa kasunduan, i-give up natin ang sovereignty ng state? Okay? Next slide. So, we go to the question I asked earlier. Is the arrest of the former President Duterte legal? Next slide. I dare to submit yes. If we look into the harmonization of domestic law, of course, our Philippine Constitution and international law. It has basis in both local laws as well as international law. So I respectfully submit that it is in fact legal. On that note, maraming salamat.